Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Here to talk a little Matt LaFleur. We were going to dive into several topics earlier this morning. Obviously, the time got away from us. The chat was absolutely on fire, and we didn't get around to talking Matt LaFleur. So if you guys want to go back and watch that episode from earlier today, we talked about Brian Gutekunst. Should he be on the hot seat? You know, what's his production been like in terms of drafting all-pro players? How's he handled free agency? And on and on. So if you guys want to go check that out, we'll make sure we link it at the end of this video. You can just click on the YouTube channel here and you'll see that video from earlier today. What we're going to dive into, though, is Matt LaFleur. This is the big hot button topic right now. You've got a portion of the fan base that wants him gone. You've got a portion of the fan base that thinks it's absurd that you would run him out. You got others that are kind of in the middle, like, hey, you know, he's definitely on the hot seat moving forward. We've got Packer players responding to it as well. So we're going to dive into all of the latest rumors in terms of that and the contract extension, which obviously they're going to be looking to negotiate that. I think the Packers want him back. I believe the reports coming out from Ian Rappaport been pretty clear. They want him back. At what price, though, right? Will Matt LaFleur kind of hold their feet to the fire? And I know that some people think, he has no grounds to do that whatsoever. It doesn't really matter what you or I think about Matt LaFleur. It doesn't necessarily matter what the Packers think about Matt LaFleur. What matters is what's the market think of Matt LaFleur. And the common theme across the league is he would have a head coaching job just like that if the Packers decided to move on. But we'll dive into all that. We'll talk about the team rankings, where they finished on the year. We'll also talk about Jeff Hafley, the latest buzz around his head coaching interviews as well. Before we do, if you would do that YouTube stuff for me, hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your day. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you look for that type of content, hit like, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified as we go live here in the future. And got a bunch of new subs, a bunch of people jumping on board. We greatly, greatly appreciate it, everybody in here. I'm going to try to keep up with the chat. You guys know the drill as we hit these topics, so we can make separate videos for these in case people don't have time to watch the live stream. I know work gets in the way. You got family that's way more important than anything going on in the football season, specifically the off season, which we're technically in now. Completely understand. So we try to edit these videos out so you can catch just whatever you can whenever you can. Let's go to the chat real quick. Again, if you get any super chats, I will make sure we hit them on the backside. So get those in if you got them. Blake says, thanks for bringing the level-headed vibes, Clayton. It's been a tough day, and these two shows really helped. Onward and upward, and go Pack, go no matter what. Thank you so much for the kind words, Blake. You guys are helping me too, man. The large majority of our viewers and listeners, you guys are bringing the same energy, man. It's, hey, look, you know, it is what it is. You lost a tough game that you probably should have won. You definitely should have won based on how the first half went leading up to the game. You know, you guys know how I felt. I'm not going to keep, saying how I felt about, that game going in. It just, you get to a point where, you got so many injuries, it's just hard to overcome them all. It is what it is. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. If you don't like the reason, then only thing I know to say is fire the whole training staff again, or start over with a new GM. Go get someone who's going to put a little more focus maybe on the health aspect of the prospects. I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers, but we're here to talk about it for sure. So let's dive into it. Matt LaFleur, okay, like I said, wanted to hit this earlier, didn't have time. We threw this up on the Patreon, just going around the league, around Twitter, and seeing what the latest rumors are here, okay? Albert Breer put a tweet out earlier this morning, and they said the Packers have been steadfast in Matt LaFleur's corner, but the question now will be at what price? Are they willing to go, say, $15 million a year on extension? If not, if Atlanta with Matt Ryan or Miami with John Eric Sullivan calls, would new President Ed Policy listen? I think he's kind of talking about maybe a potential trade there. This is a scenario I didn't even think about. And you guys know, I've been vocal here. I want Matt LaFleur as the head coach in Green Bay. You disagree with that? That's cool. We can agree to disagree. And I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong. However, didn't even think about potentially trading Matt LaFleur for a draft pick. That's an interesting take there if that's what he's alluding to here. Now, obviously, he's talking about Matt Ryan is helping take over in the front office in Atlanta. Obviously, Matt Ryan and Matt LaFleur have strong ties. Matt LaFleur was his quarterback coach when Matt Ryan won his only MVP award in the league that year. That they had an awesome season, and they ended up losing in the Super Bowl, right, to the Patriots, the big comeback win there for the Pats. So there's a little bit of ties there. Obviously, John Eric Sullivan, if he goes to Miami and Green Bay can't come to an agreement with Matt LaFleur on the money, on the dollars and the cents, maybe they go after Matt LaFleur. Maybe they trade a draft pick for Matt LaFleur. Maybe they'd be willing to do that. So let us know in the comments, what do you think about that scenario? Really, really interesting to see how all that may shake out as well. So, next tweet here. I thought that was really interesting, by the way. So Adam Schefter tweets out, former Packers president Bob Harlan is royalty in Green Bay. We all know this, right? Bob Harlan is like, man, he is he's such a vital part or reason that the Packers were able to do that huge Lambeau Field expansion. And really everything that you see that the Green Bay Packers are today in terms of the strength and stability of the business aspect of the Green Bay Packers, Bob Harlan, I mean, I don't want to say he gets 100% credit, but he gets the large majority of credit for it. He's the one who put in motion this whole idea of refurbishing Lambeau Field, making it a year-round destination, right? That's about the time I became a Packer fan. I just kind of assumed this is how it always was in Green Bay. And then as I got to digging into the history of it, I realized, no, the atrium wasn't always here. You kidding me? This used to just be a big metal can sitting up in the middle of what used to be farmland and now a neighborhood, right? And Bob Harlan had this idea, this vision that, hey, Packer fans are so passionate about football and their Green Bay Packers that they would travel year-round to come to Green Bay, Wisconsin, visit Lambeau Field, tour the stadium, eat in a nice restaurant inside the stadium, stay in a hotel close by, right? All the things that they trick me into spending my money on every year, which I absolutely love doing. So that's who Bob Harlan is, right? Royalty in Green Bay. Adam Schefter says his son Brian is an agent who represents John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has deep Midwestern roots and ties. If the Packers decide they want to change head coaches, Harbaugh would be the most logical replacement. Now, anytime this happens, you have to ask yourself, where is this information coming from? Okay, let's break all that down. He specifically mentions Bob Harlan's son, who is John Harbaugh's agent, right? Well, Adam Schefter does not work for the league, right? We talk about Ian Rappaport working directly for the league. He kind of works in conjunction with the teams, therefore the owners, breaking news kind of coming out of the building. They get some information from agents as well. This obviously came from John Harbaugh's agent. Okay. So with that being said, is this a legit shot here, right? Is it a legit shot that they go with John Harbaugh over Matt LaFleur? I'm going to be very clear. I do not want John Harbaugh as my head coach over Matt LaFleur. If Matt LaFleur decided he was going to retire today and John Harbaugh was one of the choices, yes, I would consider it. But there's a reason Baltimore let him go. And the people that say, well, he's won a Super Bowl. He won that Super Bowl in 2012. So, and we'll get into all that, okay? Again, if you don't like how many games Matt's won, you're not going to like John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is like 36th all-time in winning percentage. Matt LaFleur is 16th. So if you're okay with dropping that far in the right, here's the other thing too. Two-time MVP, Lamar Jackson, right? He had him for however many years now. That hasn't gotten him over the hump. So, it just seems kind of weird for me anyway, to kind of judge John Harbaugh on a whole different scale than what you're judging Matt LaFleur, right? And we'll talk about it a little bit deeper. But again, I thought that was really interesting. And this was on this video I'm going to show here, or play the audio for you guys and guys. This was on NFL Countdown earlier today. And let's just go ahead and hit this real quick. Let me see. I guess we'll throw that up there. Hey, our boy, Stephen A. Smith is with ESPN, so maybe that'd be close enough here. But here's an audio from NFL Countdown earlier today. This was Adam Schefter talking about the whole situation. Okay, let's see what he had to say. And again, this is the credit for this video, or audio, I should say, goes to ESPN and NFL Countdown. Let's hear the latest.
And that brings us to Adam Schefter for the first time this morning. Schefter, what are we thinking after a heartbreaker for Green Bay?
Well, good morning, gentlemen. The Green Bay Packers and their new president, Ed Policy, have a significant decision to make here in the coming days. And that is, whether to extend Matt LaFleur's contract. He's currently got 1 year remaining, or to move on from him. If they moved on from him, he automatically would go near the top of the coaches available and shake up this current head coaching cycle yet again.
Great point. Like, the second that Matt LaFleur would be let go, I'm telling you, he probably becomes the top candidate available right now. Now, you got some younger OCs, like, you know, the OC in Seattle, right? He's a hot commodity. You've got Dird, the defensive coordinator, right? You've got, I mean, there were several different coaches. I can't think of them right offhand, but you got some young coordinators that haven't ever had a shot at being a head coach that might be the next great thing, right? But Matt LaFleur, I think, will go right to top 3 in candidates, which is hilarious, right? That we're just willing to kind of scrap him. Some of the fans are willing to just scrap him. Let's start over. Let's start fresh. That's the thing too. You blow up this whole 3-year window if you do that, in my opinion. Now, maybe you can get somebody in here with a similar system and catch lightning in the bottle. I seen a hilarious tweet earlier today, cracked me up. They said, you know, everybody loves Matt LaFleur as a coordinator. People have said that, man, he'd make a great coordinator. He's just not head coach material. Why don't we hire his brother, Mike LaFleur, and make Matt LaFleur the OC? I lost it. I was crying because obviously they were being tongue in cheek, right? But really, really interesting dynamic to think about Matt LaFleur being on the market there as a free agent coach. So let's continue.
Notice how he said this belongs to the Packers president, Ed Policy. Well, the Packers' former president back in the day was a man by the name of Bob Harlan. Bob Harlan's son, Brian Harlan, represents John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh is a Midwestern guy who has a home in the Upper Peninsula. And a lot of people around the league have been wondering if the Packers decide to go in a different direction, if all of a sudden the Green Bay Packers might vault to the top of John Harbaugh's list as the top available choice for him. This has been a wild, crazy.
I cannot stand the way Adam Schefter talks. He most of the time says stuff that you already know, but at the end of the day, it's still relevant. God, it drives me crazy.
Coaching cycle, and we may just be scratching the surface, Greeny.
That's extremely well.
All right, so there you go. There is what Adam Schefter. I just wanted to play the audio so you guys can hear it in his words and not just, you know, as if I'm taking something out of context, right? Again, to me, it seems as if get out of here, Stephen A. It seems as if he's kind of putting it out there for the agent and for John Harbaugh that, hey, might be interested in that Green Bay job. Of course you would. Every free agent head coach would be interested in coaching in Green Bay. It's the greatest franchise in the NFL, in my opinion. Got the richest history and tradition. Got the greatest fans on the freaking planet. Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense. Now, Ryan Schlip, Pack Daddy himself here at Packernet Podcast. If you guys don't know about that, if you're just watching on YouTube and you're going, what is the Packernet Podcast? Scan this QR code in the upper right here. That'll take you to it wherever you get your podcasts. It's a daily podcast he also does Packernet After Dark, where you can actually call in, leave a voicemail, and he'll respond to your voicemail live on the show. So make sure you check that out, Packernet Podcast. Here is the tweet that he put out. If the issue with LaFleur is that he wins in the regular season but can't get it done in the postseason, why in the hell are we talking about Harbaugh? So again, that seems to be the big thing. Yeah, I don't care about regular season wins. He can't win the big one. He can't win the important one. Okay, cool. Ravens with multiple-time MVP Lamar Jackson. So with Lamar Jackson at quarterback and John Harbaugh as the head coach, here are the results. Starting in 2018, 10-6, lost to the Chargers. 14-2, lost to the Titans. 11-5, lost to the Bills. 2021 ended the season 0-6, missed the playoffs. So he lost a 6-game losing streak there at the end of 2021 and missed the playoffs. 10-7, lost to the Bengals. 13-4, lost to the Chiefs. 12-5, lost in the playoffs to the Bills. 8-9, missed the playoffs this year. That's the resume that you're going to blow everything up for. Can't get on board with it, man. Just can't. I can't. He ended his run with Lamar. So with Lamar Jackson at the helm, their playoff record together was 3-6. Sound familiar? And here's the other thing. we don't know what Matt LaFleur can do with a little bit more of a veteran team rather than marching out the youngest roster in the league every single year, right? So with that being said, it's like Harbaugh's done that with a little more of a veteran team. Just worth mentioning there as well. So, all right, moving along. Team rankings. How did the team finish here? And we'll go through these rapid fire, and then we're going to talk a little Jeff Hafley. Let's just focus. Let's focus on the offense here, okay? So on the season 2025, right? Scoring offense ended up finishing 14th. Understand, I do on a per play basis. I don't like per game stats. I think they're so skewed. They can be so manipulated. Per play basis means that's showing how truly efficient you were on offense and defense. All right. Scoring points per play. We finished 14th in the league. Total yardage, meaning yards per play, we finished 10th. Passing game, we finished 5th in passing or yards per pass attempt. And then running the ball, here's the bad one, right? You finished 24th in yards per carry is how you finished that, okay? Giveaways, you finished first in the league in a good way. You had the fewest giveaways per game as an offense. So that is a really, really, really important statistic there at the end. And you're wondering, well, how did we lose so many games, Clayton? Looking on defense, takeaways, we were 23rd. That kind of balances each other out. If you were top 10 in both, you're probably going to win 2 or 3 more games in the regular season, and who knows how it unfolds, right? We know it's probably the most important statistic, although last night's wonky-ass game, it did not matter. But that's a story for a different day. So, again, 14th in scoring, 10th in total yards, 5th in passing, and 24th in run. Now, again, with the run, I don't think it's scheme. I don't think it's play calling. I think that your offensive line can't run block. Now, why is that? When was the last time our offensive line was known as a run-blocking offensive line? Because I remember Aaron Jones running outside stretch plays and cutting all the way back across the field to get a big gain, right? When was the last time you were like, man, our offensive line dominates in the running game? When was the last time that happened? Eddie Lacy? That's the first one that comes to mind for me. You know, Eddie Lacy won Rookie of the Year and kind of was on that 2-year tear before he ate himself out of the league, right? That's another aspect of this. But again, when you look at the numbers here, I feel comfortable saying when you take everything into consideration, this is a top 10 to top 13 offense is how we finished. That's without Elton Jenkins, your starting center. That's without Tucker Kraft, who was leading your team in receiving when he went down. Josh Jacobs was banged up since week, whatever it was, the last 6 weeks of the season, he was banged up. Zach Tom missing significant time down the stretch, including the playoff loss last night. You're missing a lot of players. You know, Christian Watson not coming in until what was the last week of October, first week of November, whenever it was. You lost Jaden Reed from week 2 till whatever it was. It was the second half of the season before you got him back. With all that going on, you still finished kind of what I would say on average somewhere in the 13 mark when you take all 4 of those or 5 of those important metrics into consideration. Actually, I would say you're a top 10 offense is what you are, because the giveaways is absolutely huge, man. So with that being said, that's kind of the breakdown on Matt LaFleur. Let me hit the super chat, and then we'll wrap up and move on to Jeff Hafley. User JU8CH2ST2D with the super. Thank you so much. What about Gruden? John Gruden. I think he might potentially be a good head coach again. I think he could probably make it happen. We'd have to look at his record. I don't have those numbers right offhand. If somebody wants to look up his actually, you know what? I usually don't do this live on the show, but I'm going to do it, okay? I'm going to go to Pro Football Reference, and let's look at the coach's winning percentage. We talked about Matt LaFleur's winning percentage, right? He's 16th all-time in a regular season, 654. Let's see if we can find our boy. It's maybe tough. Give me just a second. I apologize for this, but I'm eager to know. I think it's a great question. How would we feel about our boy John Gruden being the head coach? Man, if he's this far down on the list, it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good at all, bub. Here we go. So Matt LaFleur is 16th all-time in winning percentage, right? John Gruden is 100. He's got a 511 winning percentage. Are you okay with going 500? That's essentially what that is. One season you'll go 500, the next season you won't, right? Now, you're probably thinking, well, you've won a Super Bowl, right? Everybody's got that Super Bowl on their mind. Like, we need a coach that knows how to win the Super Bowl. But you go back and watch the way they won that Super Bowl, that offense was not that good. right? And he was calling the plays and the offensive-minded coach. Now you had the Tampa 2 defense that was really kind of taking off, you know. I don't want to take anything away from Chucky. I like Coach Gruden as a coach. I think he's a great football mind. Would it be exciting at user JU8? Yes, it would be very exciting, right? It would be very interesting to get him back in Green Bay, but he definitely loves Green Bay. If you watch his show and any of his breakdowns, anytime he's got a chance to talk about the Packers, you can tell he loves the city, he loves the franchise, he loves the history. But, yeah, for me, it's going to be a no. If you're asking me, would I take Gruden over LaFleur? Absolutely not. But appreciate the super chat there, man. Let us know in the chat what you guys think about that question. Also, if you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments, how do you feel about Matt LaFleur's future? Would you fire him? You want to keep him around? Do you want to say, no, I don't want to extend him? Let's make him play this year out. And you kind of put everything on shaky ground with the other coaches potentially leaving, knowing, man, he's really on the hot seat. And we might potentially have to pack up and go somewhere that we don't want to go next year if the opportunities are maybe a little more scarce. But let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Now, let's switch gears and let's talk about Jeff Hafley, okay? So, Jeff Hafley, let's talk about the defensive rankings first, and then we'll talk about how we feel about Jeff Hafley. We'll talk last night's performance as well, where the defense, I think we would all agree, struggled, giving up 31 points to the Chicago Bears. Here are our defensive rankings for 2025 season. Scoring defense, points per play allowed, we finished 10th. Total yardage, which is yards per play, we finished 8th. Passing, we finished 9th. Rushing, we finished 10th. Takeaways, 23rd. The two most important statistics there, in my opinion, are scoring and takeaways, right? That's the thing right there. If you can keep an offense from scoring as much as possible, or as little as possible, I guess you could say, and you could take the ball away, you're going to have a greater chance of winning those ball games, hands down. It's not even, no questions asked, right? So you're top 10 in scoring, 8th total, 9th passing, 10th running, and the takeaways dropped to 23rd. That I feel comfortable saying that is a top 10 defense is what we had this year. When you take all 4 or all 5 of those and put them in a pot together, the average may come out to a little bit higher than that. I haven't done the numbers. Maybe it comes out to 12th or whatever, but you're a borderline top 10 offense. You're kind of, to me, you're in the same ballpark as the offense, right? You are. I mean, because again, the giveaways, NFL league best giveaways, or lack thereof, I should say, on offense, kind of balances that out, right? It's really the opposite. Like you were bad at running the football. There's no two ways about that, right? In terms of yards per carry across the league, on defense, Jeff Hafley had everything in the top 10 is statistically except for the takeaways. So very interesting. Now let's talk about that game against the Bears. What went wrong? Well, actually, I was supposed to talk about the play column of Matt LaFleur. We can hit it later. I talked about it pretty extensively last night and earlier today. You can go back and watch those shows. But I wanted to talk about actually, I did have a sound bite there with Josh Jacobs as well, and I missed that. Let's just stay on Jeff Hafley for a second. Maybe we'll play the player's reaction at the end here, okay? But defense was winless in games where Micah Parsons did not finish the game. We talked about that stat earlier. To me, that was mind-boggling, right? Now, let's go back to Week 13. These are the points that were allowed by Jeff Hafley's defense, okay? From Week 13 on, this is how many points our defense gave up. 24, 21, 34, 22, 41, 16. That was against the Vikings. Now, if you want to kind of throw that out the window and say, well, we didn't even play our starters or blah, blah, blah. I mean, it is what it is. It's still 16 points. Let's just count it. You can only play the teams in front of you. You can only play the opponent in front of you. So 16 is pretty good, right? I think we would all agree if half of these weeks here from Week 13 all the way through the wild card round, we only gave up 16 points, we're probably winning a large majority of those games, right? Wild card yesterday, 31 points. And as I said in the tweet, that's a rough-ass stretch right there. It really is. Now, immediately the comments typically go to with Jeff Hafley, well, the defense was banged up, so was the offense. Same thing. The one that gets me is where they say, well, the offense is the reason the defense was gassed, therefore giving up more points. What are we talking about now? What are we – so now it's the offense's responsibility to make sure we have long, sustained drives rather than focusing on – what that tells me, if someone truly believes that, is we got a shot play one-on-one situation with Christian Watson going down the field. Typically, you take this shot. No. Forget that shot play. I know our chances go down for being successful there. Let's check it down, try to get the first down, and let's keep our defense off the field. Theoretically speaking, yeah, you want to do that. But blaming the offense for how the defense performed is wild to me. That is just absolutely wild. So, again, that is a rough stretch. Points given up from week 13 through the wild card round: 24, 21, 34, 22, 41, 16, and 31. So, with all that being said, does that hurt Jeff Hafley's opportunity or chance to get a head coaching position here in the National Football League? It's a great question. Maybe it does, maybe it don't. You guys know how I feel. If you get an opportunity to interview, all bets are off. If you're a good interviewer and you go in there and you impress them and you lay out a vision for what you would do with this team and what's important to you, what's going to be the identity of the football team, how you would utilize the assets that are already on the current football team, how you would plan on working hand in hand, what would your role be, what would my role be, how much say do I want in the personnel, the whole 9 yards, right? You can go in there and you can crush that. If there's anybody that can crush that interview, it's Jeff Hafley, right? So what's the interest looking like? This is the latest for Jeff Hafley. Jeremy Fowler tweeted this out from ESPN. He said the Las Vegas Raiders and the Miami Dolphins are requesting to interview Packers DC Jeff Hafley for their head coaching positions per a source. Remember yesterday we did the breaking news. As soon as John Eric Sullivan got the job as the new general manager in Miami, we immediately said Hafley going to interview there. So maybe that's John Eric Sullivan's approach, is bring in Jeff Hafley as his head coach, go sign Malik Willis in free agency, and now you got Green Bay Southeast, right? Is essentially now, isn't it wild to think that if the Packers are such a bad organization and Matt LaFleur is such a horrible coach, here he handpicked a defensive coordinator. He handpicked Jeff Hafley as his DC, and he had enough success in 2 years to warrant five requested head coaching interviews now. And if the organization is so bad, why is another team poaching a front office executive to come down and run the program or run their show, and then potentially hire our defensive coordinator as their head coach, and then go out and get our backup quarterback as their starting quarterback, if that is their plan? Again, there's a lot of time left. Maybe someone better comes available in terms of the quarterback. But if this organization is so bad, I don't mean to laugh, but it's like the portion of the fan base that's got to the point where we've convinced ourselves, even though we're missing all these starters on IR, and we all agree, we've complained about it all year long about, God, could anybody else get hurt? Could anything else go wrong in terms of health, right? And here we still made it to the playoffs, and you ended up losing in the first round on the road to a team that was much, 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 much more healthier than you were. For God's sakes, we had Lasita Smith snapping the ball to our quarterback on the final potential game-winning drive. Like, he's the fourth center on the depth chart. I mean, Zach Tom couldn't play in the game, right? Edgerrin Cooper, you lose him. You want to know what happened in the second half with that defense? Edgerrin Cooper was a nightmare for the Bears in the first half. And when he leaves the game with that injury, boy, everything just kind of trickles apart, right? I think we've seen just how valuable Edgerrin Cooper is. And I'm trying to find out any updates on that. If you guys know in the chat, let me know. Have we heard anything on Edgerrin Cooper's status in terms of the injury? And that's kind of a side note, but I'm really, really trying to figure out, okay, was that a significant knee injury? Was it just something? I mean, the fact that they didn't card him off, although he did walk out of the tent, that's a good sign. It's probably not an ACL or something, but maybe it's an MCL or something like that, and he'll be good to go for training camp. I'm just terrified that Edgerrin Cooper, if it was something structural that was pretty bad, and maybe we'll hear from Matt LaFleur here at 5 o'clock Eastern time in his presser how significant it was. But, man, could you imagine Edgerrin Cooper being out until November with an ACL? That would suck, right? So definitely want to find out as soon as anybody knows what's going on there. So, again, that's the latest news around Jeff Hafley. 5 interviews. How do you guys feel about Jeff Hafley leaving? Do you think it would be detrimental to the team? Do you think it'd be a huge loss based off of those numbers that we talked about? When you look at the points scored, you go, all right, what are we losing here, right? That's really the wrong way of looking at this, I think. Jeff Hafley's a hell of a coach. I want him back as DC. I want Matt LaFleur back as head coach. I think I want Goody back at general manager. But there's got to be questions asked on Brian Gutekunst too. But again, you in the same breath, you got all these players that got hurt. It's like, okay, we didn't get to see his full product on the field for 2025 because the injuries just, I mean, it happened right off the bat, right? Just guys started dropping like flies. But also, is there something to that? How many years? We talked about this earlier in the Goody video. If you want to go back and watch it, you can see it. When you look at how everything is unfolded with the injuries the last 3 years, is there something we're doing drafting, man? Is there something we're doing there? Yeah, just it's interesting. It's an interesting take for sure. But let us know in the comments what you think about Jeff Hafley. Do you want him back? Do you think he's going to end up in Miami? Do you think he'll get another head coaching job somewhere else? Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. I'm going to try to hit a couple questions here. It's hard for me to read the questions. My little pea brain can't comprehend the questions without checking them first. Sometimes you put stuff on the screen you shouldn't. So we're going to take a couple shots here, and I'm going to trust you guys, all right? And I'm probably going to screw this up bad. All right, here we go. Lee Thunder in the chat said, Hafley is a nice guy to keep him. I'm on board too, man. Run it back with him. That's the way I feel, right? And it's funny too, Lee, like we said going into this year that there's a 3-year window open. A 3-year Super Bowl window is open now that you got Micah, right? It's like, okay, all the pieces are pretty much in place. We need to continue to build on it. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. That goes for on the field, training camp, everything in between, but it also goes for building your roster. You don't just go, yep, all right, this is the roster, guys. Let's see what we can do. No, you need to add a couple more veteran pieces this offseason. We ran the numbers earlier. And we'll get into this probably maybe as early as tomorrow. We'll start to look at the salary cap situation. We'll look at the roster decisions we got to make in terms of re-signing players. We'll talk about the potential pay cut / restructures, or maybe you just have to cut a player outright. But right now you're $4.7 million over the cap for 2026. However, you've got $74.6 million in potential. And again, over the cap may have a little bit different number, but I feel comfortable saying, let's say $70 million in potential cap that you could free up through restructures or just cutting players. Like, for instance, if you decided to move on from Elton Jenkins, you're freeing up $20 million in cap space, just like that, right? There's $11 million you could free up with Rashawn Gary, $15.5 million with Trayvon Diggs. If you go, you know what? We didn't like what we seen out of Trayvon. We didn't give anything up for him. You cut him, you free up $15.5 million. That's how we went from being roughly $10 million under the cap to all of a sudden $4.7 million over the cap. Is because next year the cap hit for Trayvon Diggs is $15.5 million. I hate that we didn't get him on the field for the playoffs so we can get a little bit of a look, a little bit of a glimpse. You know, that's tough for me. So we'll get into all that later. But again, I usually take that number that I come up with total, cut it in half, and say that's a reasonable number that you're going to have in cap space. That includes the projected draft class and everything in between. Now, you typically want about $7 to $10 million of operating money, so you want to stay under the cap a minimum of that much. So when you take everything into consideration, you cut that $70 million in half to $30 million. Let's tack on another 10 because you're 5 over the cap and an extra 5 to 7 playing money. You're going to have anywhere from $20 to $30 million that you could spend if you want to go out and go try to grab a free agent. And keep in mind, the first year of a free agent that you sign, typically is the lowest number, the way Goody allocates the salary cap, right? More guaranteed money frees up more cap space now as opposed to later, and then you can get out of the contract in 2 to 3 years essentially. So but I agree with Hafley. I think yeah, I don't think anybody thinks we should fire Haf. I'm just mind boggled that it's Matt LaFleur's on the chopping block, but we've seen the defense give up all these points, and it's like, oh well, that's not a big deal, but Matt LaFleur's the one that's got to go. I just can't get on board with it. I can't, man. So let's see here. Ari Ironmeyer says, let our new head coach decide. So he's already ready to move on from Matt LaFleur. Definitely one of those. Got it, bud. Blake says, Packer Doug, is it possible or even likely to have that bad of luck again if we bring this staff back? I guess he's probably talking about the bad luck with the injuries and everything else, right? So here we go, Joseph. Thank you so much, pal. Everything online is saying an ankle injury for Coop. That's great news, right? As long as it's not an Achilles, which anytime you see an ankle injury, you worry, is there any kind of Achilles damage there? So I think that's great news. Now, hopefully it doesn't continue to nag him. Ankles can be a little tricky there as well. But thank you for looking that up, Joseph. You're the man. That's pretty much all I got, guys. I just wanted to, like I said, jump in here and lay this out. We're trying to go through the checklist is the goal here. And when you look at the checklist that we have, so again, these are kind of the staff decisions come first, right? Matt LaFleur is going to meet with the press here in a minute. I'm interested to see if he spills anything on maybe players and exit interviews and that type of thing. I'm assuming the exit interviews are today, but he'll probably give us that information today on whether they already had them or if they're going to be having them tomorrow or the following day. And an exit interview, if you guys don't know what that is, it's real simple. it's the final meeting between the head coach slash coaches, right, assistants, with the players to kind of set the stage for the next year. Like, hey, here's the plan. Sometimes, in some cases, it's, hey, we're gonna need a pay cut if you're gonna come back. Think about it. We're going to make a decision on that in the next few weeks as we get into the off season. Or it can be, hey, it might be an edge defender that you go, hey, we're going to change things up just a touch. We want you to put on 10 pounds this off season. Or, hey, we want you to shave off 5 pounds. We want you to play a little lighter next year. Those type of things happen at the exit interview, right? In some cases, they don't go well. And next thing you know, that player's on the street, right? And he's looking for another team. So, but the checklist, general manager, you got to make a decision on Goody. Is Goody staying or not? Okay. Then it's head coach, in my opinion. Now, the Goody decision's probably already been made. They're not going to drop a bunch of bombshell information. Goody's not going to leak that out. The team's not going to leak that out. In some cases, you find out the general manager was extended in Green Bay on down the road where they've kind of kept it quiet, right? They have said that immediately following the season, they were going to negotiate with Matt LaFleur. So that's probably already underway. Again, if the money lines up, I think he'll be back. If he comes out and says, hey, I want $15 million per, I could see the Packers going, I don't think you're worth that. Yeah. Now, is he? I don't know. Andy Reid made $20 million this year, but Andy Reid's got a lot of Super Bowl rings, right? John Harbaugh, the rumor is John Harbaugh is going to warrant somewhere between 18 to 22 million per year. Matt LaFleur it's estimated he makes somewhere between 5 to 7 million per year on his current contract, just to put things into perspective. My opinion, he's been underpaid up to this point compared to other coaches across the league. You look at some of the coaches on that list, and you're like, some coaches that got fired this year that were making more than Matt LaFleur. Like John Harbaugh got fired in Baltimore, and he was making $12 million, I think, if I remember correctly. So, with that being said, head coach, then you got to make an offensive coordinator decision. We talked about Mike McDaniel. If Mike McDaniel doesn't get an offer that just blows his freaking socks off to be an OC somewhere else, or he's already getting head coaching offers too, or not offers, but interviews. So there's a chance Mike McDaniel, former head coach in Miami, could be a head coach somewhere. If he's not, I personally would like to bring him in as our offensive coordinator. His specialty is the running game. Matt's got the passing game on lock, guys. We were a top 5 passing team this year, right? We showed you the yards per pass attempt. Jordan Love was playing outside of his freaking mind this year. Finished top 5 PFF grade. I think he was tied for first at the end of the regular season in terms of EPA per drop back. Last night, huge stage, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, played his ass off, dropped a couple in the bucket that should have been caught. One by Jaden Reed, another by Christian Watson, although the Christian Watson catch was a little tougher. But I thought Jordan played great. You got that on lock. If you bring in Mike McDaniel to fix this running game, and you also bring in a new offensive line coach or demote Stenovich back to offensive line, that was the last time our offensive line was solid, was when Steno was the true offensive line coach as opposed to the makeshift offensive coordinator helping Coach Butkus with the O-line. That's a decision I feel like they need to make. And then we'll talk about the potential poaches. That's going to happen in real time as well. And what I mean by that is Jeff Hafley being poached. You're going, poaches? Why'd you say plural, Clayton? I'll explain why. If Jeff Hafley gets a head coaching job somewhere, guess who he's going to want as his defensive coordinator? Either Derek Ansley or DeMarcus Covington. I think he would pick Ansley, personally. Now, maybe he'll go the opposite direction of his specialty, which is he's a DB coach at heart. Hafley is, so maybe he goes to someone like Coach Covington, right? But nonetheless, he'll probably pick someone from our staff to be his DC. So you're not just going to lose one coach. You're probably going to lose 2 to 4 coaches because they typically take some of the lower guys and give them a promotion at the new location, right? So just something to think about there. So that's kind of our staff decisions stage that we're in right now. Next will be roster decisions in terms of re-signing potential players. We got a full list of players. We got what market value is listed right now. So we're going to dive into that as we get into the offseason. And then we're going to get into cap savings. You'll then have a contract restructure date where in the past, here's when we've restructured contracts or made a decision to move on from a player and cut them. And a lot of these numbers, too, are just as if we were going to cut them outright this year as opposed to a post-June 1 cut, which is actually going to save even more cap space. Okay, so we'll get into all those details and decipher all that as we get into the offseason. So that's what to expect as we move forward here at PTA. So let us know in the comments, how do you feel about Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley? That's the topic of the day. How do you feel about those guys? Do you want them back? Do you not want them back? Would you promote Jeff Hafley to head coach and fire Matt LaFleur? That's a way you can keep Jeff Hafley. That's a realistic way you can keep Jeff Hafley. If you go, you know what? we want to promote you to head coach and we fire Matt LaFleur, I think that's a crazy plan personally. That's just me. But let us know in the comments what you think. And make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live in the future. We may go live after Matt LaFleur's presser if any other news breaks, but we greatly appreciate everybody jumping in here. Smash that like for us on the way out. My name's Clayton. This is PTA. Go Pack Go.
Here we go. We're out.
Bye, guys.